Hello, my name is Alexandria Nixon, and today I'll be talking about maintaining positive relationships with hospice clients. So, what is hospice? Hospice is a service-based program for those with a medical diagnosis or prognosis of 6 months or less to live. Those receiving services are given a team consisted of a physician, a nurse, a home health aide, a chaplain, a social worker, and volunteers. A hospice team is considered interdisciplinary, where each member focuses on an aspect of the client to ensure all needs are met. Medicare guidelines dictate that each person receiving services has the opportunity to meet with each member of the team. The team members also meet regularly to collaborate and discuss each client's case to ensure that all their needs are continuously being met. The role a social worker plays in a hospice setting focuses on not just the client, but their families as well. They also do not just focus on the physical needs of the client, but their emotional needs, including the need of human relationships and connections. While a hospice social worker is just one person, it is our job to encourage further relationships and foster connections. So right now, I want you to think about the beginning of the pandemic, right? We were all happy to be home. We were uncertain about what the future held. We didn't know what COVID was at that point. But for the most part, we were all pretty happy to be home. But after a while, it got old. Despite having Zoom and FaceTime, we missed socializing. We missed being, with our families and friends. Having those opportunities to see them on the screen paled in comparison to being able to meet them one-on-one in-person interact. Unfortunately, that led to social isolation. And social isolation is nothing new within this population. Feelings of social isolation lead to further feelings of powerlessness, loneliness, hopelessness, and increased rates of depression. In fact, social isolation and loneliness are common at the end of life, affecting 1 in 4 adults. It's further associated with increased rates of psychological distress as well. So how do we fix this? What do we do? Well, we utilize this good old systems theory. So the systems theory suggests that all systems within a client's life are connected. In the context of hospice, this includes family members, loved ones, and caregivers. It also includes their community, whether they are involved in a senior care center, or they are involved in a church, or they live in a long-term care facility, such as an independent living facility or any other facility providing them medical care. It also includes that interdisciplinary team providing hospice services. These systems all produce relationships between the client and their respective system. Another approach that we typically utilize in hospice is the humanistic approach. And that really just dictates that all people mean something. They are all worthy of the dignity afforded to them. One way that we utilize the humanistic approach is through narrative therapy. So when we first sign a client onto hospice services, the social worker typically will go out and perform an initial comprehensive assessment or a biopsychosocial assessment, right? So what we do is we ask them about their life from the time they were born until the time that they signed onto services. This gives us the background and necessary information about their lives, such as childhood, family dynamics, relationships, spouses, marriages, divorces, etc. Not only does this provide us with kind of a background on that person as a whole, but it also allows us to begin to have those building blocks of building a positive relationship through foundation of trust with them, showing them that we are interested and we are invested in them, and that we are there to truly help them meet their needs. One of the things, for example, that I love to do in practice is whenever I meet a new client who has been married for decades and their spouse is still living and most of the time taking care of them, I love to ask them their backstory, how they met, what their secret to their success is, things like that. Not only does it provide them a chance to talk about positive aspects of their lives, but it also provides them evidence that I am invested and I want to know more about them. And I think that's important, and that's how we begin to build these relationships with them. In respect to the pillars of advanced generalist practice, when it comes to maintaining positive relationships with hospice clients, I want to focus on 3 pillars. And I think it's also important to say that these 3 pillars also tie into my competencies that I've chosen that are most relevant to this presentation. So my first pillar I want to talk about is empowerment. Empowering my clients to not only create a relationship with me, but also create a relationship with other people. As humans, we have the desire to continue to form new relationships, make friends. That doesn't go away as we age. It's always there. However, the chances start to decrease as we age. We retire, we don't go out of the house as much, whether that's due to medical problems or the inability to leave the house. Our chances to meet new people decrease over time. So when it comes to empowering our clients, we have to encourage them to utilize their existing support systems, as well as get kind of creative to find other new ways to create support systems and just new friendships and relationships, right? So, for example, one thing I want to talk about is the use of technology. So again, going back to the beginning of the pandemic, none of us even knew what Zoom was, right? Well, as time went on, we all had to adjust. We all had to kind of learn about what Zoom was and team meetings and things like that. And so within the last couple of years, one thing that I have definitely been tasked with more than a couple of times is teaching clients how to utilize these technological advances. And that includes not just Zoom and FaceTime, but also social media. And I will never forget, I had a client one time show me that after I showed them how to use Zoom and did a couple test calls with them, they told me, oh, I'm able to finally talk to family that I haven't been able to talk to in years. I can see them face to face. I forgot what they looked like. But I also have had clients show me pictures of great grandchildren that they get to see, newborn pictures of on Facebook that they may not have been able to do in the past. So just empowering your client to try new things and foster those new relationships. The second thing is social justice. So one of the things in hospice is we don't have a set time with our clients. We don't know when they're going to go. It could be days, it could be years. So just ensuring that the time that we have with them, we're advocating for them. We're making sure that all their needs are being met and that there is no injustice occurring within their lives. We're connecting them with the right services. We're connecting them with the right organizations and groups, and just ensuring that they continue to have positive experiences and positive relationships occurring in their lives for the duration of their life. And I think that goes back to and attests to the philosophy of hospice overall, that we're not trying to increase the quantity of life per se, but the quality of life. And in regards to the third one, cultural competency, displaying a level of cultural humility within ourselves, I think that's a big one. And in this field, hospice is not discriminatory. You will have people from different backgrounds. Our society is so enriched with diversity that there's people from completely different cultures that you may come across. And I think it's important that we as social workers are able to acknowledge that we are not always the expert in everybody's lives, and that we may not know things about people's cultural backgrounds or beliefs. For example, in some cultures, it's considered bad luck to even bring up death. And so having the ability to understand that, and even just on our own time, researching and making sure we are well informed for the betterment of our client, I think makes a big difference. And if you don't know, ask. I've yet to have a client that has not been willing to tell me anything about their cultural backgrounds. In fact, they've been enthusiastic when they've told me, and I've learned something. So just being able to recognize that, again, you're not the expert, and that you might be uncomfortable for a couple of minutes, or this isn't something you're used to. Having the ability to move into that space and be a learning and willing participant continues to foster that positive relationship between yourself and your clients and their families. And I think that that also goes to the social work values that I've chosen for this presentation. Again, service, importance of human relationships, dignity and worth of persons. All of this kind of ties in, right? It's all on theme. So when we think about the dignity and worth of persons, we're thinking about our clients, and even our most vulnerable clients, the ones who are mentally responsive, the ones who are nonverbal, ensuring that their wishes are being listened to, and that they, even though they may not be able to voice it, that they're still given that dignity and respect that they should be afforded. And understanding the importance of these human relationships. Again, we don't know how long our clients have left, and we want to leave that lasting impression on them, that they mattered, and that we cared about them as a human being, and that we felt that it was important that we fostered that positive relationship with them. And lastly, service, that we are continuously practicing well-informed, best evidence practice and approach to better ensure our clients' needs are being met, and that we are giving them our all. And one thing that I did not add on here that I did want to talk about, that I felt was very important to this field and very important to myself, is the aspect of self-care. In 2021, the NASW added self-care into its code of ethics, and I think that that's very important for this field. Hospice social workers often feel burnt out and compassion fatigue. This is a very tough field to work in sometimes, and it can be very heavy on us. And so I think it's important that we recognize that within ourselves. We know when we're burnt out, we know when we're running a little on the low side, and that we continue to not only take care of our clients and foster those positive relationships, but we also take care of ourselves, and we make it a priority to utilize effective coping skills and effective self-care techniques. We can't take care of our clients if we're not taking care of ourselves first. So in conclusion, why is this important? Well, over 20% of the US population is age 65 and older, and that's not going to decrease with time. In fact, we've got the baby boomer generation beginning to hit those milestones in ages. And so we are going to see an uptick in clients. And it's important that we recognize that, and that we are ready and willing to take on that role. It's also important because all of us at one point, we're going to be at the end of our life, and we may know it, we may not know it, but we will all at some point reach an end of life stage. And it just goes back to ensuring that dignity and worth of each person is respected and acknowledged. So that's all I have. Thank you for watching this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please ask any questions at the end. Thank you.